But she, for greeting, called from the meeting ground her lord and master, Antiphates, who came to drink their blood. I'm saying that quite nonchalantly. He came to drink their blood. He seized one man and tore him up. Sorry, just got really real out of nowhere.
It sure did. Hello, and welcome to Notes from the Oracle. I'm Connor, and together with Jack, my co-host from Cabin 6, we're going into uncharted waters as we explore the monstrous mythology of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Book 2, The Sea of Monsters. Chapter 1, My Best Friend Shops for a Wedding Dress. We're here. We've cracked open to the first pages of Book 2, The Sea of Monsters. How are you feeling?
Woo! I'm excited, man. I know we've talked about it before, but I really have no memory of this book, which, again, maybe that's a point of concern. Maybe I don't remember it for a reason, but I'm at the very least eager to find out why, or maybe prove myself wrong. Maybe this book is actually the hidden gem within the series that's just totally slept on. I have no idea.
I did refresh myself on this one because I didn't want any Hestia moments this time around.
You're covering your bases.
I am. But no Hestia and no poodles. Oh god, no poodles.
But that's half the fun for me, Connor.
It is. But this time I got myself prepared. It definitely feels shorter and faster, and I wonder if that contributes to you're not remembering it as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll have to see. And starting off, I just want to address it has been a few, if not several weeks since we've last recorded properly.
It has.
And so I really do love that this book picks up after a bit of a time skip. As we are perhaps a little bit out of practice with recording the podcast, we pick up with a Percy who's also a little bit out of practice and out of sorts, which I find very interesting. I forgot that that was the case and was a bit surprised by that.
Yeah, keep your eye on that one. I think that's an important thought to hold on to. But you know what's not out of practice? My Best Friend Shops for a Wedding Dress. We're getting back to those good titles.
Yes, very, very good title. Very strong start.
It's nothing special. I think we get a much better title for Chapter 2, which is fantastic. But Chapter 1's is definitely a solid start. So I'm happy
I was
with
intrigued.
that. Yeah.
I was intrigued. It hooked me in a way that I feel like a Percy Jackson chapter title should. It might not be the most crazier out there, except for the fact that, again, my brain goes to Percy is 12, if not 13 now. Like, who's shopping for the wedding dress? What is the occasion?
Mm-hmm. In fairness, it is hard to beat I vaporize my pre-algebra teacher.
Yeah, it's hard to top that.
That's one
But
of the best ones.
that's true. But we'll see if this holds up on its own merit, and we have a lot to talk about. So I say let's jump into it, kick this book off. And we
Do
start
it.
off as any good demigod journey should, with a horrible, horrible nightmare. Percy
Woo!
starts off and he describes what I find to be a very well illustrated setting by Rick. I can picture perfectly the kind of place that Percy is scrying into. Percy is standing on a deserted street in some little beach town. It's the middle of the night. And of course, there's a storm blowing. There's wind and rain, just torrential downpours, treacherous winds that are ripping through palm trees, bending them over along the sidewalk. These pink and yellow stucco buildings that line the street. Their windows are all boarded up. It's like proper hurricane weather. And a block away, there's a line of hibiscus bushes. And beyond that is the sea just churning, roiling. And I love how Percy sees this hellish landscape and just goes, Florida. Very on point. Truly a nightmare.
I did enjoy that he said, I wasn't sure how I knew that. I'd never been to Florida. And one line before it says the ocean churned. Like, come on, friend. You knew how you knew.
Exactly. But that's when camera hard pans, we hear hooves clattering against the pavement. He turns and there's Grover running for his life. And I like how obviously we know that Grover is a satyr, but the book does a good job of, let's say I'm imagining somebody's in the library and they just happen to pick up this book because, yeah, they don't know it's part of a series or they're bored or maybe the first one's out of stock or whatever. Sky's the limit. And Rick still does a good job of laying out base foundations of stuff that we as readers know while also reintroducing that it's kind of fucking weird to people that might not know. He says
Yeah,
he hears hooves against pavement. He sees Grover running for his life. And then there's a line break. Yeah, I said hooves in italics.
I wrote that I wasn't questioning it. I read book one,
Uh-huh.
but I do agree. It doesn't belabor you with it. It doesn't say
Yes.
Grover was a searcher. Grover was on this exact mission to do this thing, and here's his entire. No, Grover's a satyr. He's my best friend. And anyway, he's hauling goat tail holding his human shoes in his hands. There you go.
What more do you need? It's a nice little reminder, especially for I have to imagine when the books were coming out, which way back when I do have vague memories of waiting for these books. It could be nice as to just jog memory. Again, I doubt anybody forgot that Grover was a satyr, but I think you hit on it. The book doesn't retread old ground and belabor it to a point where it's like, okay, we're stuck here right now. We need to get right into it. It sprinkles it throughout, it keeps things moving. And that is, I will say, for this first chapter, which is exceedingly short, it does move things along quite quickly.
Yeah, I agree. I think it contributes to why I really felt like chapter one felt kind of empty because it just moves so quickly before you get to chapter two where things actually start to kick into gear.
hmm This is like if this were a TV show, which season 2 of Percy Jackson is releasing relatively soon at the time of us
Mhm.
recording. This is what I would imagine is playing before the title card, the cold open.
It starts off, I would say, really well in that it really cuts right to the action. I like that we start with this dream of Grover. It sets some stakes. It reminds us why we're not going to have Grover as part of our main team for most of the book, which is another important thing because I feel like if you read book one and then did pick this one up a year later because it released a year later and you were like, where's Grover? What the hell? You'd be really upset. So establishing that Grover's not around from the very first few pages is fantastic. And he's
Mm,
still classic Grover. He is in all the ways still kind of the meekest member of the group while also doing something genuinely heroic out
yeah.
on his own, you know, putting his putting his money where his mouth is, getting that goat balls earning I didn't I'm going to cut that.
Excuse me? Where were you going with that, man?
I was trying to say that he had balls to like go out and be a searcher. He's trying to work in the Seder. It's fine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
For me personally, I'd leave that in.
I know you would. Oh man.
So yeah, Grover's
Anyhow,
got his goat balls. They're caked in sand and they're soggy. This is a pretty tense first scene that we're in, too. Stakes are set, I would say, relatively high immediately. Again, it's this dark, stormy night. Winds are whipping. Grover is like a soon to be victim of a monster in a horror movie running, he's huffing, puffing, trying to dip around corners, hide, and it's clear he's escaped from somewhere, according to Percy. And then from behind the buildings, something growls, a bone rattling growl cuts through the storm. At the far end of the block, a big shadowy figure looms. Actually, let me rectify that. It does not say that a big shadowy figure looms, only that a shadowy figure looms. We learn that it's big because the next line is it swatted aside a street lamp, which burst into a shower of sparks. which lets us to believe, oh fuck, this thing is big.
Hmm. And Grover, not an idiot, fleeing in fear, but he's also saying things to himself. Have to get away, have to warn them. Sure, I'll take it. It feels a little forced,
A little
but
bit.
it establishes, again, we're literally on page 2. This is our inciting incident. We're establishing everything. Understood. Grover has to get away from the big monster. He has to warn his friends. He's not going to succeed in that, so Percy has to figure everything out. Good enough. And as he turns the corner into this courtyard full of shops, there's no time for him to find another way out, so he ducks into the first one that has an open door that's been blown open by the storm. Turns out it is St. Augustine Bridal Boutique. He dives behind a rack of wedding dresses, and this is when the monster's shadow really starts to creep up. Percy still
Yeah.
can't make out what it is, but he can smell it now.
Hmm. Which is interesting because it says Percy could smell the thing. A sickening combination of wet sheep wool and rotten meat, and that weird sour body odor only monsters have, like a skunk that's been living off Mexican food. Very pungent. But
Yep,
also, this is the first time we get that Percy can smell monsters.
it is. And I have I have a theory as to why he can smell it so pungent in this moment.
Mm.
The reason he's having this dream is because Grover has set up an empathetic link between the two of them that will continue for the rest of the series. So they are just kind of connected. And I wonder if in this moment where Percy is experiencing the effect of this empathetic link, he is also experiencing some of Grover's senses, i.e., his sense of smell.
Oh, okay.
A thought. Also, sheep wool and rotten meat should catch your attention. I won't spoil it exactly just yet, but I will in our myth section today. So look forward to
Yes.
that.
Yeah. I, again, not remembering a whole lot, do remember, and, if you look at the front of the book, it's kinda hard to miss. Big ol' Cyclops.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a pretty famous story about a Cyclops and sheep.
There sure is. But we'll get to that later because
Yes.
for
I
now,
won't steal your thunder.
Grover is trembling behind the wedding dresses. The monster moves along. There's silence before there's a flash of lightning. The entire storefront explodes and the monstrous voice bellows, "Mine!"
Jump scare. Whoa!
Percy sits bolt upright. He's awake now. There's no storm and no monster. Just a regular morning in his mom's apartment in New York. Not a
Yeah.
bad way to start the chapter.
No, not at all. I was actively engaged with all of that. And Rick's always been good at this. The scene settings were economical, but incredibly proficient at getting me to feel, see, and smell like I was actually there the entire I was almost viewing it like a movie or the start of a show. I could
Yeah.
picture the scenes as they were happening. I could see the camera movements and the swipes. I could hear the music, hard cutout, stop, the beating of Grover's heart trying to leap out of his chest, the shallow, stifled breaths as he's trying to catch it and not, let his position be known. And then boom, mine! Hard cut smash. There's the music sting, whatever. And then boom, title card. And then Percy jumps up out of bed. It's beautifully done.
It's really well done. And then we set a very different scene.
Yes.
Percy, before we get any other details, really, he looks out his bedroom window and he thinks he sees a shadow flickering across the glass, a human like shape. But then his mom calls, and this is where we start to really set the scene of where he is. Percy, you're going to be late. Figure at his window disappears. The shadow, which Percy now thinks must have just been his imagination. No,
Which, like,
you're a
come
demigod. No,
yeah. I know that
you.
relatively speaking, you're still new to this, Percy. Come on. Come on, man. You know better than that.
I find it particularly funny because for most of his childhood, he was specifically gaslit and told those are hallucinations. Those are just your imagination. And after a year of being away from camp, you know what? Maybe it makes a little bit of sense for him to slip back and be like, here I go hallucinating again.
Yeah. He's just been so conditioned that he doubts
Mhm.
himself constantly.
But with that, he says, it must have been my imagination. A fifth story window with a rickety old fire escape. There couldn't have been anyone out there. No one sane, perhaps. Sally calls again. It's the last day of school, she informs us. Percy should be excited. He's almost made it without being kicked out. That is the actual implication.
Yeah, which is huge. That's like the first time that's happened for him.
Yeah, like ever.
Mhm. And
Not,
like any well-adjusted young scholar, he gets up and reaches for the gun that's under his pillow.
I believe you misspoke. That's a different deadly weapon. That's a sword.
You know, potato, potato. With
Yeah,
Percy, it may as well be just as deadly.
fair enough. He's still pondering the dream, what Grover had meant when he said, have to get away, have to warn them. He makes the gesture that Grover taught him at the beginning of the first book, where he puts a three-fingered claw over his heart and pushes outward to try and dismiss evil spirits. I wonder if it worked. I'm guessing not.
Probably not, but hey, maybe that's the equivalent of doing like a power pose in the morning. You get your
Yeah.
affirmations in, makes you feel a little bit better. But you skipped over something that I do enjoy, which is he reaches for, we get the name drop, Anaklusmos, Riptide, his pen sword,
Mm-hmm.
and he mentions that he hadn't used it for so long, which I would say implies he hasn't used it since he's been at Camp Half-Blood.
Yeah, he hasn't been training.
That's interesting. We know that Percy really enjoys sword play. We know that he's good at it. And a lot of what he did while at Camp Half-Blood when he was just by himself would be training. That was his way of winding down or even focusing,
Yeah.
which leads us to believe that he is actively trying to keep that part of his life as distant and away as possible from his life with Sally,
Yeah, and that
which I
won't be the
believe is
first time
mentioned.
that that comes up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. It'll come up just on the next page. But before that, he talks about why he's banned from using weapons in the apartment. Apparently, he'd swung a javelin the wrong way and crashed through Sally's poor china cabinet.
Yeah.
And
No, not smart. Which also, Sally, come on. We learned that you have money problems again. Why you got a China cabinet? Why do you have China?
it could be inherited from her dead uncle that she took care of gracefully.
I guess. I don't know. But we're also not of a generation where maybe I'm speaking for
Oh,
you
no, you're not.
incorrectly, but like I've
You're correct.
never understood the concept of China. It's like those are the plates that
Me
we
either.
look at.
But
I don't get that. But that tangent aside, yes, Percy is being put into a bit of a box. And it's not like he is being forced into it. He is willfully trying to divorce himself from his godly tendencies, truthfully. And it's interesting to see because we know that he loves spending time with Sally. He loves being at the apartment with her, and he doesn't want to make her life more difficult than it needs to be or already is.
yeah,
But
he's trying to have a work life balance.
of course, but I do like that we're starting very early on with him. Yeah, he recognizes, okay, this is a part of me, but he is trying to stuff away that part of him. He recognizes that it's there, but he's trying to hide it. And we're seeing how that is not going to be healthy. It definitely mentally is not healthy, but we are going
Yeah.
to get actual tangible substantive events that occur in which him not staying sharp and on top of things and feeding into his innate abilities and nature is detrimental to his own health, and by extension, Sally's.
Yeah, Jack, keep your eye out for that one for the rest of the book. I think you're going to be rewarded by your observations.
Okay, okay.
But Percy's making an important observation that for the first time in his life, he'd almost made it an entire year without getting expelled. No weird accidents, no fight in the classroom, no teachers turning into monsters and trying to kill me with poisoned cafeteria food or exploding homework. And tomorrow, he'd be on his way to his favorite place in the world, Camp Half-Blood. And then he
Yeah,
goes and says the stupidest thing he could. Only one more day to go. Surely even I couldn't mess that up. You just had to say something, didn't you? You
I'm
just
shaking my
fucking
head
had
right now.
to.
Shaking my head. He jinxed it.
He did! At the very least, he gets to celebrate with some blue food. His mother made blue waffles and blue eggs for breakfast, her little way of celebrating special occasions.
And Connor, this is actually disgusting. This is a true story. When I was a kid, because I was obsessed with Percy Jackson, I once looked up blue waffle.
Oh no, yeah, you and many other children.
And folks at home, assuming this is kept in, don't. If you know what it is, you know that you don't wanna look at it. If you don't know what it is, just
You don't want to look
curiosity
at it.
is going to be your undoing. You don't wanna look at it, you don't wanna see it. Your life is currently better not knowing about it. But little 11, 12-year-old Jack, however old I was when I was reading this, made that mistake, and it is a fundamental core memory.
Oh, poor mini Jack.
I know, isn't that crazy lore?
That's
Thank you, Percy
awful.
Jackson. Blue eggs are fine, though.
Okay, actually, I disagree. Blue eggs are
What?
not fine.
Blue egg
Okay?
you're not gonna get a horrid image of something terrible if you look up blue eggs, you're just gonna get, like, robin eggs.
All right, that's true. You're right. But here's where I take issue, Jack. Making blue waffles. Oh, that's easy. Blue food coloring goes in to the waffle batter. Done. No problem. Jack, just take 2 seconds. How do you make blue eggs?
Well, are they scrambled?
They'd turn out green. I guess they'd have to be
Hmm,
scrambled egg whites specifically.
uh-huh.
Is that what you want on your last day of school? Scrambled egg whites?
I don't know, man. I feel like I'd just appreciate the gesture.
That's valid. You can't like make fried eggs and just get the blue in the white. You can't make scrambled eggs because they'd turn out green. The only way you could have blue eggs would be blue egg whites. And I don't know. I think that egg whites on their own taste fine, but they don't taste like anything. They're much worse than scrambled eggs that include the yolks, because the yolks are where all the flavor is. I'm going on a tangent. This frustrates me. Blue eggs, I don't know how they exist.
And Connor, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I definitely wouldn't have thought about it. But you're also the food guy.
I am. And I'm also I'm not currently hungry. I did just eat, but I'm always hungry for breakfast food. I love breakfast.
And you know what, Connor? I think you're missing the point. This is Sally's way of saying anything is possible.
Yep,
Percy can pass 7th grade. Eggs can be blue. Little miracles like that. Now, the book says waffles can be blue, but I'm hammering the point home with eggs, Connor. It's a little
that's
miracle.
valid. That's a very good point.
If anybody could do it, it's Sally Jackson.
That is true. If anyone could do it, it's Sally Jackson. And she does it all dressed in her work uniform, a starry blue skirt, and a red and white striped blouse she wore to sell candy at Sweet on America. If that isn't somewhere in one of the quizzes, I'll be flabbergasted if it isn't going to be in the book one quiz.
Uh-huh. I read this and was like, "Wait, I thought they were rich now because of the statues
Yeah, they spent all the money on the apartment
and her
and her
school,
school.
I
So she
guess."
still has
Yeah,
to
so
work.
now they're just back to being kinda broke, huh?
Yep. There are
That's
worse things to spend
unfortunate.
your money on. Yeah.
I I guess. I guess, man. This is coming from somebody who's currently in grad school. Man, if I come into a lump sum of money, I'm never going back to education. Are you kidding me? What does she wanna do? English undergrad, right? She wants
Yep.
to get her
She
bachelor's in
wants to
English?
go into writing. Yep.
or just have a bunch of money. Personally, I'd just take the bunch of money, but that's just me.
I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, it really is kind of insulting that she has to sell her ex-husband instead of just them taking the infinite money card.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about that.
All
I'm
right.
gonna leave that last book. We're not
Oh,
gonna talk about that.
you're not. It's not gonna be for a while, but at some point, I guarantee there will be a Jack rant about that card.
Oh,
But before that, Percy enjoys his waffles, but apparently he just wasn't digging in like he normally does because Sally looks over and she frowns. She can tell something's up. And I appreciate this. Percy says she could always tell when something was bothering me. She dried her hands and sat down across from me. School or ... She didn't need to finish. I knew what she was asking about. Percy tells her all about the dream and how it concerned him and how he thinks Grover's in trouble. And she purses her lips, and this is where we get the mention. It says, "We didn't talk much about the other part of my life. We tried to live as normally as possible. But my mom knew all about Grover." That's good. Good mom should know about your best friend.
mhm.
I did find it particularly weird, though, that they don't talk about his demigod life very frequently. I feel like that's stifling something important. So she dismisses Percy, which I didn't love, but I get it. She's trying to get him off to school without being worried so that nothing goes wrong on his last day of school and he doesn't get expelled for 1 year. I'm sure it'll go off without a hitch. She,
Yeah, well, alright. I've got a gripe. We talked last book about how Sally Jackson did what nobody fucking else ever did, which was just be straight with Percy. Percy has a
yep.
question, she'd say, "Here's the answer," or "I don't have the answer right now," or "I literally, for reasons that I cannot tell you right now, cannot say." But she does a Chiron.
No,
She
no,
does
no, no,
have a
no.
Chiron.
Before you blame Sally, turn the page, okay? She twists her dish rag as she's uncomfortable trying to explain because Percy is asking about, well, what's going on at camp? She's hiding things, and she says, "I got a message from Chiron last night."
That son of a
Percy's
bitch,
heart
you're
sank.
right.
Chiron was the activities director at Camp Half-Blood. He wouldn't contact us unless something serious was going on. What did he say? He thinks it might not be safe for you to come back to camp just yet. We might have to postpone. See, it's Chiron's idea. Sally doesn't want to hurt Percy's feelings and be like, your beloved mentor, who's actually a dipshit, is trying to ruin your summer.
That's true, and I do have to give her credit for saying, "Yeah, he says it might not be safe." And Percy, credit to him once again, when he's in all of these situations, asks very good questions. Postpone? Mom, how could it not be safe? That's like the safest place on earth for a half-blood. And she says, "Well, they're having these problems." Percy says, "What problems?" She just goes, I'm very, very sorry. I was hoping to talk to you about it this afternoon. I can't explain it all right now. I'm not even sure Chiron can. He could, he just refuses to. Calling that out. Calling that what it is. I don't even know what the fucking problem is, but I know he has some semblance of an idea and just refuses to share.
Of course.
And then she says, "Everything happened so suddenly." Now, that could mean everything happened so suddenly in terms of she was informed about all of this so suddenly, or she does understand what's happening at camp. Everything at camp happened so suddenly, and she's also dangling this fucking turkey leg, this morsel of information over Percy and dicking around with him. Now, that is a good point, and I didn't catch it. I blocked it from my brain. I had my Chiron blinders on. I thought this was gonna be better this time around. I was trying to be
Oh, joy.
mentally in a better headspace. You're right. It is fucking Chiron. He's not even there, and he's fucking shit up for Percy again.
He
And he's
sure
dragging
is.
Sally into it?
Mm-hmm. No, I want to point out, Sally specifically says, I had hoped to talk to you about it this afternoon. I can't explain it all now, implying I was going to explain it all later, but you need to go take your finals and pass your last day of classes.
Mm, yeah.
She is trying to do her due diligence, and I give her credit for that. And the way she says that Chiron specifically sent a message last night. Last night. Percy could have already been in bed, man. He crashes. She gets a random Iris message. She's like, God, I can't do this. Percy wakes up late. She's like, literally, we do not have time to discuss this right now. I promise I'll tell you later. Maybe I'm a Sally apologist, but I really feel like she is better than that. You know who isn't better than that? Fucking Chiron.
That's true, but also we learned that this fuck-ass school that he goes to probably doesn't care if he's late or not. So really, what's the
Oh my
problem?
God. When we get to chapter 2, we are good. I have so many thoughts about this fucking school.
Maybe I'm being CinemaSins nitpicky. That just I'm like, really already? We're not even 6 pages in and this bullshit is happening again, and we were doing so well.
I will say, I feel like on that front, we just didn't give you all the information. Teehee is much better in this book on the whole. Much, much
Yes,
better.
there's at least some level of excuse this time around, some level. It's still not great.
Yeah.
I mean, excuses are like buttholes. We've all got them. Some stink more than others, but they're still buttholes.
But with that, Percy, now starting to get to where he's genuinely going to be running late, is being ushered out by Sally, and he looks back at her and he sees that she has this fragile look in her eyes, like if he pushed her too hard, she'd start to cry. She genuinely feels bad knowing that she is going to have to tell Percy that he can't go back to camp yet. That reaffirms that it is not Sally's fault and she's doing what she can. But as the clock chimes 7:30, she's like, seriously though, you're gonna miss your train. Get out there. She also mentions that he specifically needs to go because someone named Tyson will be waiting, who we will meet next chapter. And he sees that human silhouette against the brick wall, a shadow that belonged to no one. And that's the end of chapter 1.
Whoa.
Incredibly short.
Exceedingly short.
So, unless you have more thoughts on chapter 1 that you would like to have voiced now, I think we're ready to move on.
I think let's just dive into chapter 2, man. Say
What
the
is
line,
this?
Connor.
Starting with 2 chapters, a mega episode for the first episode? That's
Whoa!
fucking right it is. Chapter 2. I play dodgeball with cannibals. Now that's a good
Yeah.
title.
That's a really good one. That's up there.
Yeah, that's got honestly, like I'm looking at the table of contents for this book. That might be the best one of this book.
Damn, peaked in chapter 2? That's tough.
Actually, now that I'm looking at it, I take it back. There's some really good ones on here. All right, we'll get to those when we get to those. Percy's got to play some dodgeball with cannibals first.
That's true. He's gotta do a lot of shit before even that can happen, though.
That's
Connor,
true.
we get to see a day in the life of a student at Meriwether College Prep. And I can just feel the snide animosity that Rick holds towards these charter Montessori bullshit schools because he was a public school teacher, right?
Yes, he was.
And this caricature of these alternative learning institutions, which I want to throw out there, when done well, are incredibly important because students are not one size fits all. And some people really do thrive in environments like this. But you can just tell that the contempt and sardonic way that this is written can only come from somebody that was in the trenches of a public school that was hearing about the bullshit happening at the fancy schmancy heavy air quotes progressive school down the street.
Honestly, some of the shit that happens with these fucking teachers at this school, it's baffling. Some of it makes me want to seethe. Some of it makes me want to laugh. None of it makes any goddamn sense.
All right, I disagree a little bit. I think some of it does make sense, but we'll get to that actually pretty immediately. Percy explains what this, again, air quotes, progressive school is like. It's in downtown Manhattan. And what that really means is that they sit on beanbag chairs instead of at desks, and they don't get grades, and the teachers wear jeans and rock concert t-shirts to work. which, hey, that sounds pretty dope. That sounds cool to me.
Yeah, not bad on the face of it.
And that's exactly what Percy says. That's all cool with me. He says, I'm ADHD and dyslexic, and I've never really done great at regular school things, especially before they kick me out. The only bad thing about Merriweather is that the teachers always looked on the bright side of things, and the kids weren't always, well,
Well,
bright. There
God.
is a fine line of leaning into alternative methods of teaching that help spur creativity and lateral thinking and critical thinking w- that can tip over into pure anarchy and a severe lack of actually learning.
Yeah,
And it seems
batshit
like Merriweather,
insanity.
yeah, it seems like Merriweather really leans into the as long as everybody's having fun, that's really all that matters. And by everybody having fun, we mean the most loud, obnoxious people having fun.
And so it starts with Percy arriving in his first class.
Yes.
English. The whole middle school had read this book called Lord of the Flies, where all these kids get marooned on an island and go psycho. So for our final exam, our teacher sent us into the break yard to spend an hour with no adult supervision to see what would happen. Brilliant. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that this school is run by well educated people who make good choices.
Now, is this effectively an unethical psychological experiment? Yes.
Yes.
However, I will say the whole point of the novel is proven, like,
Yeah.
immediately. To the teacher's credit, I would never forget that. I would have Lord of the Flies committed to memory after the absolute pandemonium that unfolds in this breakyard. There's a massive wedgie contest happening between the 7th and 8th graders, multiple pebble fights, a full tackle basketball game, and, of course, it's led by the biggest, baddest guy around, the school bully, Matt Sloan.
Hello, Nancy Bobbitt 2.0.
Yes, but this guy might be even more dangerous because he has a bunch of goons and a severe lack of he's a sociopath. He has
Yep.
a severe lack of care. But whereas Nancy Boba Fett was just actively awful to everybody, including the teachers, and like everybody hated her, Matt Sloan, he knows how to suck up. He
Yeah,
is a proper Patrick Bateman type. He is a psycho. He can play the game.
I really do hate that it seems like the teachers are really like, oh, we love this Matt kid.
He's a leader. He's a natural leader, Connor.
Yeah,
You see how he takes charge?
I do. And he takes charge to run a wedgie contest.
Yes. And they'd probably try to start sacrificing the fat kid if the hour didn't come up. And the teacher comes out and says, "You did it! You all passed with flying colors! You understood the book perfectly! Bravo! Bravo!" Which again, I would say he is right. He's pretty correct. They did seem to get it down pat. Or at the very least, they proved that the book had a very solid set of points about human nature.
Yeah, there's just one problem. The teacher clearly did not understand the point, which is that you shouldn't give a bunch of children no adult supervision.
Yeah, but see, now they know that.
Well, there you go.
Mhm.
They learned something along the way.
That's
But
exactly right.
while they were out in the break yard, something interesting did happen. Matt Sloan snuck up on Percy's friend Tyson, who is described as being 6'3" and built like the abominable snowman. But he cried a lot and was scared of just about everything. And then we get to some more of the stuff that makes me violently hate this school. Merriweather Prep had adopted him as a community service project so all the students could feel good about themselves. And I understand that on its face that sounds like a good thing to do, but it's a vanity project and they just let the other children bully him all the time?
Yeah. It is kind of insane that this school, which seemingly has a lot of resources, takes on this homeless child as a vanity project, but doesn't even let him stay at the school overnight. He lives in a box,
Yeah, they still force him to go back out onto the fucking streets at the end of the night.
which
That's fine.
is insane.
Thank you.
I genuinely forgot that that was, like, pretty much everything else in this book. I can't believe I forgot that
Yeah.
because that is fucking nuts. Rick's like, "Yep, this kid is just incredibly homeless. He lives in a refrigerator box, and everybody just hates him. Everybody's mean to him except Percy. Percy tolerates him and feels kinda bad."
You know what? Props to Percy for being a good person yet again, a genuinely good person. To pick up where we left off with the wedgie contest, Matt Sloan tries to sneak up on Tyson, and Tyson swats him away a little too hard, and he flies 15 feet and gets tangled in a little kid's tire swing. I do think that the word swatted, is an
Mhm.
intentional choice to mirror chapter 1. Just putting that out there.
I
And
underlined that as well, Connor. Very keen eye.
mhm. And Sloane yells back at Tyson, "You freak! Why don't you go back to your cardboard box?" Tyson starts crying because,
Goes, "Ah!"
I mean, honestly, valid. Shit, that's mean.
I have a vague recollection, and I think we've talked about this before as well, so I'll just briefly discuss. I do vaguely recall not liking Tyson as a kid and
Mhm.
finding him annoying. This is all just heartbreaking,
Yeah.
and I am gonna feel mad at my younger self if I end up actually growing to really like and find Tyson endearing, because he's just a sad, lost, big softy of a kid.
Yeah.
I'm no better than everybody else at Merriweather Academy as a 12-year-old.
Man, but you know who is better than everybody else there?
See?
Percy. Sloane sneers and says, "Why do you even bother, Jackson? You might have friends if you weren't always sticking up for that freak." Percy, he tries to think of some retort, but he gives up. He does have one thing that he notices that I think is particularly important. He says, "I wondered if it were my imagination, or if Sloane had more goons hanging around him than usual." It's
Mhm.
not your imagination, Percy. He's trying to comfort Tyson, and he promises to buy him an extra peanut butter sandwich to get him to stop sobbing. Which, like, hey, I get it.
Yeah.
I love peanut butter too. And you know what? We know Percy's broke, okay? That is a genuine, seriously though, that
Yeah.
little bit of extra money that he spends on an extra
Big
sandwich
gesture.
for his friend who can't afford one, that's a big gesture, exactly.
Mhm.
He really is a good kid.
This dynamic, and I'm sure this is not a hot take by any means, but it reminds me a bit of the George and Lenny dynamic from Of Mice and Men. We've got this big, juvenile, innocent, lumbering beast of a man,
Yeah?
and effectively his handler, this smaller, more cunning, and righteous person that rise to keep them safe.
Yeah?
Obviously, Percy is very, very different from George from Of Mice and Men. But maybe that's part of the reason that, at least so far, I'm more endeared to Tyson because I love Of Mice and Men. It's one of my favorite books.
Interesting. Maybe I'll have to give that one a read then. I don't think it's my speed normally, but if you love it,
You haven't read Of Mice and Men?
I haven't.
Connor, you got one of your degrees in books. How have you not read Of Mice and Men?
Number one, I didn't do the reading for most of my classes. Sorry to any of my professors. And number two, I don't know. It had a title that didn't intrigue me. The Sea of
Mm,
Monsters? That's a page turner. Of
that
Mice and
gotcha.
Men? I'm not picking that up.
Personally, I love Steinbeck. He is one of my favorite authors, and I know specifically your wife fucking hates Steinbeck.
Despises him.
So, I would be really interested in your thoughts. I think that is one of those books that is a classic for a reason.
All right.
I think you will feel heartbroken at the end of it. You might even cry at the end of it. But I think you would walk away saying, "Wow, that is a beautiful and heart-wrenching story. I never need to read it again.
Well, all right then. I'll add it to my TBR list.
Awesome. Anyways, tangent over.
Yeah, and with that tangent coming to an end, they move on to their next exam, which is science, where they have a teacher fittingly with the name Mrs. Tesla, and her whole assignment for their final is that they need to mix chemicals until they succeed in making something explode. What the fuck is this school? Like, sure, that sounds fun and a horrible idea.
Yeah, that's science brought to you by Boeing, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin.
Yeah.
Just just blow shit up.
It says Tyson knocked a tray of chemicals off the counter and made an orange mushroom cloud in the trash can. They have to evacuate the lab and call the hazardous waste removal squad.
Yep. You
And then
made
the
a
teacher
chemical
turns
weapon.
around and is like, wow, Percy, you and Tyson are natural chemists. Wait,
Yeah,
what?
they were the first ones who'd ever aced her exam in under 30 seconds. Impressive.
I guess. That's a word
I like
for it.
how, with the context of Percy, any other school, he would have done that, and he would have gotten expelled for it.
Yes.
Here, it's technically not him that does it, it's Tyson that does it, but he is by proxy the one, dealing with it. He gets praised for it, and even he's like, "This feels wrong."
Yes. He is still thinking about the bad dream he'd had in the previous chapter of Grover being in danger. In social studies, he opens his notebook and stares at a picture of his friend Annabeth on vacation in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, which also social studies, the only class where they're doing actually something of note, which
Yeah,
is drawing
normalcy.
maps. Yeah.
It's not interesting because it's the one normal class
Yeah.
at this school.
One class, they're like, you're gonna get something useful out of this. All right, you're gonna understand latitude and longitude. Geography is important.
Yep. Have fun, kids.
Yeah.
Uh,
Annabeth is in my neighborhood. She's chilling in Washington, DC,
mhm.
and she's got on her, what is it, Canadian tuxedo, right? Because she's got on the jeans and the denim jacket.
Sure does.
She's chilling in
Oh,
front of the Lincoln Memorial. Her arms are crossed. She's looking pleased with herself. She's proud. I like that Percy adds. It's almost like she'd personally designed the Lincoln Memorial. And it's because it's what she wants to aspire to be. She wants to make something like that, but on the level of the gods, something
yeah.
that is eternal.
And I love, one, that she sent him a little picture of her on her trip
Yeah,
in an email, but the fact that he printed it out and put it in his notebook, that's
it's adorable.
adorable.
It's very cute.
Yeah. He says that he looks at it every so often just to remind himself that she and Camp Half-Blood are real and that it wasn't just his imagination. Maybe he really is slipping back into a pattern of gaslighting himself. He's trying to set up systems to remind himself that he's not
It's
insane.
like it's like Memento. He pulls out the picture. It's like, don't trust his lies. It's
Yeah.
Chiron.
And then more of this Matt Sloan guy. Ugh. Percy says he was about to close his notebook when Sloan reached over and ripped the photo out of the rings. He takes it. Is that? Is she? Implying that she might be Percy's girlfriend. He hands the
I
photo
do
back.
love the no way, Jackson. He's like, damn, you can pull? That's crazy, bro.
He hands the photo back to his ugly buddies, who start ripping up the photo to turn it into spitwads. And then Percy starts to read their name tags. They've all got visitors tags, and they say Marrowsucker, Skull Eater, and Joe Bob. Percy thinks to himself, no human beings had names like that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that so, Percy?
He's a little slow on the uptake. Again, he's out of practice a little bit, but I can't help but feel like he should perhaps be a little bit more spurred to action at this.
Yup. And that's when we learn that Percy has been given strict orders from Chiron to never take out his anger on regular mortals. Which tells me that this is something like in the latter half of the summer last year at camp. Maybe Annabeth was like, oh, and then there was this time Percy just tried to slice a mortal kid in half.
Tried to
Chiron
kill him.
was like, all right, fucking hold on, what?
Yeah. He's like, "Whoa, Percy, you tried to, like, gut him? You tried to disembowel just a random fucking street punk who you recognized wasn't a threat? That's what you tried to do?"
You recognized as a completely mortal, regular asshole.
I like to imagine that's one of the only times Chiron really locked in and was like, "Okay, buddy, like, I'm not gonna mince any words. Don't ever do that shit, okay? Don't. No riddles,
Yep.
nothing." He's like, "Look at me. I know I fuck with you a lot. It's one of my favorite pastimes. You cannot smite the mortal. You just can't. You haven't earned that right yet. Now, maybe
Oh
if
my
you were
god.
Theseus, you could go around and bonk anybody you want on the head and rip them apart limb from limb. That's your right, but you're not that level."
Nope. You're just a guy still. We also learn that gym class is coming up next, and as the bell rang and Percy gets ready to leave, a girl's voice whispered, Percy! And then he just fucking moves on.
He's like, "Oh, must have been the wind." Yeah.
Yeah.
No girl at Merryweather would ever be caught dead calling my name. He waddles
Uh,
away.
and that's when we learn that PE has a free for all dodgeball game planned, which weirdly one of the most normal things happening at this school.
Yeah, but also one of the least progressive things. This is
Yes.
like old-fashioned 1950s post-World War II. Let's just beat people up.
All right, son. Here's what you're gonna do. The most important skill is beating the shit out of those smaller.
Yeah, pretty much. It's that toxic Americana, the good old days.
Oh, yeah. But hey, they're doing it in tie dye shirts, so they're really embodying the 70s.
So they're pretty with it. It is interesting that, they have to get into their gym uniform, which is goofy. It's sky blue shorts and tie-dye t-shirts because 'cause they're a little hippy-dippy school. And then we get just this little scene, and it's so forgettable, but it stuck out to me because again, it made me, like, grab my chest. I felt so bad. Percy changes quickly. He is thinking self-preservation. I do not wanna be in the locker room and deal with Sloane. And he's about to leave, and then sheepishly, Tyson just calls out, "Percy?" Percy turns. He sees Tyson hasn't changed yet. He's just standing by the weight room door, clutching his gym clothes up to his chest. He goes, "Will you, uh," and Percy, really stifling some level of frustration, says, "Oh, yeah, yeah, sure, man." And Tyson meekly ducks into the weight room, and Percy has to stand guard outside the door while he changes. Because Tyson is big and hairy and has weird scars on his back, and people bully him relentlessly. He is
Mm-hmm.
scared to show himself. He's scared to change. It's just gut-wrenching.
Yeah. I don't have much to add. It just is.
Percy says, "Yeah, it's weird and it's sad." And, I'd learned the hard way. If people teased Tyson while he was dressing out, he'd get upset and start ripping the doors off lockers.
Totally normal behavior.
Totally normal. Again, that's another, no alarm bells, Percy. Nothing's coming to mind here. You're not thinking
Yeah,
this is a little strange.
I do love that this is also after earlier in the chapter he says, I never actually learned what his eye color was because I never look at his face.
Percy says that it's because his teeth are all fucked up and weird. Again, we'll learn. Minor spoiler. I do at the very least know this. I like that that is indicating Percy is being
Tricked by the mist.
tricked by the mist. Yes.
The mist is still doing its job. It's working hard. Percy has not yet realized that Tyson is a Cyclops. And he also hasn't realized that these big guys that Sloane is picking for his team are all a bunch of giant cannibals. So he divvies up the teams. He makes Percy the other captain. And Percy says he ends up with Tyson, Corey Baylor, the computer geek, Raj Mandali, the calculus whiz, in middle school. and half a dozen other kids who always got harassed by Sloane and his gang. And
Yeah.
then, Jack, there's an interesting detail here that I think you're gonna like. Tyson says scared, he mumbles. Smell funny. Percy looks at him. He says, what smells funny? And then he points at Sloane's friends. They smell funny. The visitors are cracking their knuckles. And
Yeah.
Percy even says, they were looking at us like it was slaughter time.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That's his little spidey sense going off again.
It's his little
He's
spidey
more
sense
on it.
going off.
He's more on it than he thinks.
An early instance of what smells matter.
Yeah. Yes. But again, now
And
Percy can't smell them. Now Percy can't smell the monsters. So maybe it is that bond or whatever with Grover.
yep, the empathetic link.
It seems like Tyson, he has some ability to do that. We don't know why yet, but we will learn it pretty soon. I would have to imagine
Yeah, but hey,
why he
I
did.
like that
I do
because
too.
we see as the game starts and Sloane's team all runs for the center line and grabs balls, they start hucking them across the gym, and the dodgeballs are just flying. Percy says it whistled past his ear at the speed of sound. He yells back, "You could kill somebody!" And then, as Joe Bob grins evilly, he somehow looks a lot bigger, taller than even Tyson, biceps bulging. He says, I hope so, Perseus Jackson. I hope so. And then
Yeah.
Percy is like,
Uh-oh.
nobody called me Perseus except those who knew my true identity, friends and enemies.
And
What
enemies.
had Tyson said? They smell funny. New line, monsters.
Not just new line, Connor. New line, top of the next page. I
Mhm.
love how that's formatted.
It's really good, but I really like that Percy's like, wait a minute, smells funny. He's a little slow to the draw, but I think that goes with what we've been saying about he's a little out of practice.
Yeah.
But I love that he puts it together. He's learned from last time, where every time they're like, smells funny, probably just underground or regular shit. He's like, no, smells funny. That is fucking monsters.
Yeah, alarm, the bells are finally going off, and he's listening to them. He's not saying, "Oh, it's probably nothing. I'm probably just making it all up." Yeah, he's starting to realize, "Uh-oh, shit is not good." And I like how you skipped over the weight at which the force at which these balls are being thrown. Yeah, they're flying past at what seems like the speed of sound, but Percy gets fucking annihilated by one.
Yeah,
A ball slams into his gut, and his eyesight goes fuzzy. Percy says, "I felt like I'd just gotten the Heimlich maneuver from a gorilla." Rick, I wish I could think like you. That's beautifully put. I understand
great
exactly what
descriptor.
you mean. Yep.
Yeah,
These
you go.
crazy kids mean business, and they're no longer kids. They're growing in size. They're 8 feet tall, got wild eyes, pointy teeth, hairy arms, tatted up with snakes and hula women and Valentine hearts. They're turning into these massive gorilla-like monster men. And Matt Sloan drops his ball, and he says, "Whoa, you're not from Detroit." Shout outs to Detroit. Detroit versus everybody. And he's like, "Wait, who are you guys?" So we don't know what he's seeing because of the mist, but clearly something is happening in his little pea brain. And everybody else is starting to see something too. The other kids on his team start to scream and back away. Nobody's laughing anymore. But the giant named Marrow Sucker throws a ball with deadly accuracy, streaking past Rajmandali as he's about to leave, and he hits the door, slamming it shut like magic. Now all the kids are screaming, banging on the door desperately, but it's not budging. And now we get Percy. He's in hero mode now, properly and truly. Says, "Let them go!" Joe Bob growls, and he's important because he's in love, presumably. He has a tattoo on his bicep. It says JB loves LUVS baby cakes. He says, "And lose our tasty morsels? No, son of the sea god. We Laistrygonians aren't just playing for your death. We want land. Which is crazy for a couple different reasons,
Yeah.
right? One, they're gonna fucking eat him. Two, they know exactly who he is. So Percy is being hunted once again, presumably. We don't know why, but uh-oh,
Mhm.
that's not good. And three, Joe Bob's got the same tattoo as me. That's crazy.
Wait,
Mine's in a different spot. You're never gonna see it.
damn, I didn't realize that Jack loves baby cake.
Hey, I try to keep it on the down low.
But with that, I will also point out that as we name drop the Laistrygonians, who primarily feature in just one mythological Greek epic, welcome to the Odyssey book. If you haven't figured it out yet, that is what we're doing this whole book long. So, the
Oh,
giants.
hold on, Connor. I'm gonna sound like a fucking idiot. Are each of these books based on a Greek epic?
No, they're not.
Oh, okay.
Although they do, a lot of them tend to follow certain tropes. So, like, book one is very much Perseus slays Medusa. It's kind of the Perseus storyline, but it's also kind of the Theseus storyline because we also see the Minotaur and we do an underworld journey, a catabasis. So, book one doesn't have as solid of like a single myth that it draws upon. This book is the Odyssey book. 99%
Ah,
of the myths we talk about are going to be from the Odyssey in some capacity.
gotcha. Interesting. I guess I'd never clocked that, or I guess I wouldn't be able to clock it now because I don't remember much from it, but that's good to know.
It is. But as the Laistrygonians have now properly revealed who they are, and that they are not just playing for Percy's death, but to eat him, tasty, tasty hero flesh,
Mhm.
he waves his hand and magically summons a new batch of dodgeballs that are the size of cannonballs, perforated like wiffle balls with fire bubbling out of them.
Yeah, holy shit, these giants are magic. They have
Yeah,
actual magic powers. That's crazy.
I was about to say, I'll spoil it right now. That's not in the original myths. Holy
Oh,
shit.
they can't just summon things, they can't just create something from the ether.
Just flaming dodgeballs
They're not
wherever they want.
conjurers by trade.
I must have missed that part of the Odyssey where Odysseus's ships are sunk by flaming dodgeballs that they all conjure.
I
But
like how during all of this, there's again pandemonium. At this point, all of the children are screaming in terror and trying to flee. But Coach Nunley, the incredibly geriatric gym teacher, is just reading his magazine, kind of sleepily looks up, though he's not seeing anything abnormal, and just is like, hey, probably the big kids beating up the little kids, whatever. I got to get back to the swimsuit issue. He
now
goes
hold
back to
on.
Summitzer. Yes.
You said that he wasn't seeing anything abnormal. Percy says that maybe it looked like Matt Sloane's thugs were getting ready to toss Molotov cocktails around. Open parentheses. It wouldn't have been the first time, close parentheses. I'm sorry,
Well,
what?
hold on. So I was getting there. It said the coach probably just saw 8th graders pounding the younger kids like usual, but the other kids may have seen Matt Sloane's thugs throwing Molotov cocktails around.
Ah, that's true. That's true. You are correct.
Mhm, mhm. So Coach Nunley goes back to reading his magazine. He's like, "Play nice. Don't throw the Molotovs near me," if that is what he's saying. And he's useless. Great, cool. And then Skull Eater, he picks up his ball, he throws it. There's a big, fiery bronze comet exploding over Percy's shoulder. I love this. Percy goes, Corey! Who is hiding behind one of the wall mats. And Tyson jumps into action, pulling this Corey kid out from behind the mat just as the ball explodes against it, blasting the mat into smoking shreds. So Tyson, the guy who cries at everything and is incredibly clumsy, just performed an incredible feat because these are getting thrown at exceedingly high speeds, and he just saved a life
And
properly.
Don't forget they're on fire, too.
And they're on fire. Oh, we'll get to that in a bit. That becomes even more clear that Tyson has a lot more shit going on than he lets on.
Indeed.
And so again,
Percy.
Percy's still screaming. He's like, "Run, go to the other exit."
Yep.
So they all start running for the locker room, but Joe Bob, because he's a powerful summoner, a user of magic, also waves his hand, the door
Oh,
slams
God.
shut, and Joe Bobby Reeves, "No one leaves unless you're out."
Percy at this moment, I love that he realizes, I'm wearing my gym shorts. I
Yeah.
had no pockets as he reaches for Riptide, which always appears back in his pocket.
Dude, I really love that weakness. What a like one, this is kind of a goofy set piece, but the set piece becomes all the more exciting and cool with that limitation.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's never been a problem before. Percy has always had Riptide exactly when he needs it, but now because he's wearing these fuck ass sky blue gym shorts without pockets, he's fucked. He has nothing. The only thing he has are his wits. I love that. I love that so much. That's so clever.
It's a really fun set piece, and it allows Percy to rely on Tyson a little bit more in this chapter as Tyson calls
Mhm.
out, Percy needs help! As more flaming dodgeballs are flying across the gym. He catches another 2 dodgeballs. Percy looks over expecting Tyson's hands to be burning and smoldering, and instead he's totally fine.
Yeah, he is doing the Kung Fu Panda 2. You know, when Poe starts juggling the cannonball,
Yup.
tosses it back. That's Tyson right now. He's in the flow state. And he starts wrecking fucking shop. He grabs these exploding, fiery, celestial bronze balls and starts hucking them back just as fast, if not faster, and starts killing monsters. This
Yeah.
is then we get the reminder that the giants disintegrate into columns of flame, gold dust exploding everywhere. Okay, great. Confirmed. They're definitely monsters. And Percy reminds, yeah, when monsters die, they don't really die. They just go
Poof.
away, turn into smoke and dust, which saves a lot of cleanup, but they'll come back eventually. But they're gone. That's what happened. Huh, isn't that kooky?
Neat.
And Joe Bob, I believe Joe Bob has a more profound and deep soul and sense of emotion than his brothers. Because not only is he in love with baby cakes, but he sees Tyson kill some of his compatriots and he wails. He wails. He says, "My brothers!" He's in mourning right now. He's
He
grieving.
is.
He's flexing his muscles. Baby Cakes is rippling on the tattoo. Says, "You will pay for their destruction." Now it's justified what he's doing. He's doing it in retribution for his fallen brothers, which I think is beautiful.
I'll give it to you. I respect it. They thought this would be an easy meal, and then it fought
No,
back?
it started fighting back. Yeah. It didn't even start fighting back. They wanted to eat this little chicken, and then a fucking bear ran onto the picnic table and started swatting them in the face. Like, where the
That's
fuck
my
did this
best
guy come from?
friend.
Yeah, literally. And Tyson just has a full-on Dragon Ball Z fight with these giants. He's swatting these balls away. They're fucking exploding all over the gym. He's catching them and throwing them back even faster. He's like a badass here. Like
Yeah.
immediately, he's just dope.
And it gives Percy enough time to start coming up with a plan. Percy starts thinking, he's like, I gotta do something. As all of his teammates are like pounding the door, trying to escape. Percy says, move away from the door. He looks over, he counts to 1, 2, and then ducks aside as Joe Bob throws another flaming dodgeball that ignites and explodes as apparently there's enough disgusting fumes that have built up in the boys' locker room to cause an explosion as the door caves in under the weight of this flaming dodgeball.
He got an A in science for a reason. He knows how to make explosions. We've learned this. There's precedent for this, Connor.
Ah, how could I neglect the precedent?
How could you?
The wall blows apart, locker doors, socks, athletic supplies, all just are strewn about the gym.
Uh-huh.
And
And I love as this is happening, there's this boom, big explosion, shit's flying everywhere. Percy looks at the explosion, looks back to Tyson. Tyson is now not at range. He's just run up to one of these giants and fucking clocked him in the face. Just punches him.
he's getting in close.
Boom! Just a big fucking wild overhead right haymaker. Just knocks this guy flat on his ass. Oh my god. There's just something about it. It's like, oh yeah, they've really been keeping their distance. They're doing this dodgeball fight. And Tyson is the one that closes the gap and is like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. It just kills me.
It's fantastic, but unfortunately, Joe Bob, he's no fool. He's been wisely holding on to his dodgeball, waiting for just the right moment, and he catches Tyson, slamming it square into his chest, who slides back the length of the court. And at this point, Percy's like, "Stop, it's me you want!" And Joe Bob, ever the gentleman, is at the same time gloating about, "I'm the last one standing. I'll have enough meat to bring baby cakes a doggy bag."
That's right. Because he's a provider, Connor.
A gentleman.
Truly. He is chivalrous. I would almost say he is a knightly character. He has honor for his brotherhood. He seeks to defend and fight with righteous retribution against those who felled his brotherhood. He is seeking to bring home spoils to his love and provide. Honestly, Joe Bob, I think Percy could learn a thing or two from this guy.
Well, unfortunately, Joe Bob will not have the opportunity to teach him, as Percy hopelessly looks around the gym, trying to find his jeans. He spots them, and he thinks, maybe if I charge, but it's probably hopeless. And as he's trying to ponder this, the t-shirt of Joe Bob rips open, and he grew something like a horn. No, not a horn, the glowing tip of a blade. He bursts into a cloud of green flame, and then standing in the smoke where he once was is Annabeth. She's fucking aura farming again?
I know, yeah. She was just there the whole time aura farming, which is crazy. Goes in for the backstab, gets the kill. I do like that Joe Bob just mutters, "Ow," and and then explodes into a cloud of flame. And I'm gonna be for real for a second. Percy jests in his mind. He bursts into a cloud of green flame, which I figured was going to make Baby Cakes pretty upset. Is Baby Cakes going to make an appearance? Because Baby Cakes has been mentioned several times.
I'm pretty sure that she does not make an appearance in the entire series, but the Laistrygonians do appear again, and it's these Laistrygonians again in the Heroes of Olympus series. I think Baby Cakes might show up during that. Maybe.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm gonna keep that in my back pocket. Because Baby Cakes has been brought up too many times to not come up again.
And for my giving her shit for aura farming, credit where credit is due. That was really fucking cool. Annabeth
It
getting
was
that last kill, that was gnarly. Percy notes that she has a ragged backpack slung over her shoulder, her baseball cap tucked in her pocket, a bronze knife in her hand, and a wild look in her storm gray eyes like she'd just been chased 1,000 miles by ghosts. Matt Sloan, dumbfounded, is like, that's the girl. And Annabeth punches him in the nose and says, and you, lay off, my friend. Go at it, girl. Get
Love
him.
her. What a great entrance. She's the last of us. Last of us coded right now. Like she's lived through an apocalypse. Punches the shit out of the school bully, steals the final kill on this giant, and then says, That's my guy right there. You do not touch my guy."
And that's it. She's like, we're leaving. No time. And that's pretty much the chapter. The other teachers begin entering the gym, and they're like, what the hell happened? Police
Yeah.
officers are
Whoa.
showing up.
Yeah,
And
but now we get another instance. This is slightly more forgivable. Annabeth's like, "Come with me if you wanna live." And Percy's like, "What the fuck is happening?" She says, "There's no time to explain." I hate the phrase, "There's no time to explain."
yep.
Yes, there is. There always is. There quite literally always is. Just say, "Hey, I'll tell you as we run." I know it's there as the narrative tool. It's supposed to be intrigue, it's supposed to be exciting, we're gonna get answers soon, but, like, come on, Annabeth, you're better than that.
At least
Don't
the
ruin the
answers come
aura.
pretty much like next chapter.
I'm sure, but, like, come on. I can't help but feel like, Rick, we should be doing better than, "There's no time to explain."
Yeah, we don't need to lean on that crutch too much longer.
She points out, though, like, "Dude, you gotta bring Tyson. He's gotta come with us too." And Percy says, "What?" Which, Percy, come on, don't be a fucking idiot. You literally just saw what he could do. Of course you're gonna bring Tyson. You kidding me?
He's like, "But he's just a regular guy.
He's
Don't you
just
know
a
all
regular homeless
regular
kid.
guys?" They taught him that in homeless kid camp, that how to catch flaming dodgeballs.
Yeah. I like how the headmaster comes in. Of course, his name is fucking Mr. Bonsai. It's like, "Percy Jackson? What? How?" He's looking at the destruction. And then Tyson pulls himself out from a pile of cinder blocks in a broken wall, and he just goes, "Head hurt."
Poor guy.
Matt Sloan is a rat.
Yep.
Immediately points at Percy. He's like, "Percy did it! He set the whole building on fire. Coach Nunley will tell you he saw it all." Coach Nunley, still reading his magazine, now decides he wants to pay attention moderately, looks up and is like, "Yeah." And then goes back to reading.
Terrible.
And I love, in unison, all adults turn towards Percy. And Percy, he's not even gonna try and tell them the truth. He's not gonna try to lie. He's just gotta go. So he grabs
See ya.
Riptide out of his ruined jeans, tells Tyson, "We're getting the fuck out of there." And they jump through the hole in the building and leave.
And that's where we end the chapter. I think chapter 1 was short, enjoyable. Chapter 2, for all my gripes with this stupid ass school, is really entertaining.
Oh, yeah. I have been thoroughly entertained by these first 2 chapters. Chapter 1 is, it's not a nothing burger. It's a really good cold open. It almost feels more like it should have been like prologue,
Yeah, I agree.
but I'm not gonna dock it points for that.
No,
For
it's
what it
good.
served, it does it very well, and I maybe hammed up some of my gripes when it comes to "There's no time to explain, I can't tell you anything." You swayed me a bit. There are at least some excuses for them this time around, which I will accept because I will go insane if I don't. Just start accepting them. And we got cool set pieces. I was shocked at how much I actually came to enjoy Tyson and Percy's dynamic. It's very different from the Percy and Grover dynamic. Percy still acted like a protector for Grover at Yancey Academy, but it was different. Grover was at least capable of being cunning enough to defend himself, and there was also the secret thing of Grover was actually protecting Percy, which added a different
Mhm.
layer to it. I just like that this time around, Percy has taken it upon himself to look over this kid that has stumbled into nothing but misfortune, that is abused relentlessly, and says, "At this point, I'm just decided when it comes to the mortal world, I'm never gonna have regular friends, and I don't really need them at this point. Fuck these guys."
Yeah, he does a genuinely good thing in being friends with Tyson because he sees he doesn't have any other friends and finds out that even if the guy is a little weird, he genuinely enjoys him.
Yeah. I
Honestly, it's rather uplifting.
I think so too. Again, we'll see if it stays that way, but as it stands right now, I'm rocking with the dynamic.
It is not a bad way to kick off this book. But I think there might still be a bench that didn't blow up over there on that side of the gym. Do you want to sit down and talk some myths?
Let's do it.
So, I got a weird one for you.
When are they not
Spoiler.
weird, Connor?
Oh, here the concept is a little more weird. I stretched it a little bit.
Okay.
So, our first myth today is actually not a myth, it's a play based on a myth. We talked a long time ago at the beginning of book 1 about something called a satyr play. Do you remember satyr plays, Jack?
I do.
Great. I thought that because satyr plays are tragedies that have comedic elements to them and prominently feature satyrs, and well, Grover's a satyr, and he was in a horrifying, tragic situation where he's diving into a bridal shop, which is kind of comedic. I thought, okay, maybe we'll do a little bit more of a deep dive on satyr plays. No, no, no. Little did I know, there is one satyr play that we have that has survived in its entirety, and it happens to be a play written by Euripides called Cyclops.
Mm.
And in fact, it is written about Odysseus's encounter with the Cyclops Polyphemus, the exact same Cyclops that hunts Grover at the beginning of chapter 1.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
So how fitting. Let's start with a little refresher on satyr plays. I have just briefly touched on the core aspects, but let's dive into what defines this subgenre of ancient Greek tragedian drama. Firstly, we can actually talk about where the satyr plays come from. We don't know exactly when the practice started, but we know that they emerged as part of rural celebrations in honor of Dionysus. By the time of the 500s BC, we can be fairly certain that they began to show up before this, but we just started having records of them as they reached larger, more populous areas such as Athens, which specifically at City Dionysia in Athens, during the festival of Dionysus, tragedians would actually compete to see who could write and direct the best performances. And each tragedian would be required to submit 3 tragedies and a satyr play, which would be the last piece that was performed at the festival. So, satyr plays are something that were a kind of core part of celebrating Dionysus and the dramatic culture as a whole. So now let's start to really dive into what defines the satyr play. As I mentioned, they were both a tragedy and a comedy. They obviously must have satyrs in them. Typically, the satyrs make up the chorus, and their costumes would have focused on the phallus. They would have used wordplay filled with sexual innuendos and other what would be considered more vulgar jokes like fart jokes and dick jokes.
Awesome. Love.
The satyr plays must maintain most of the traditional theatrical elements of other plays of the time, and specifically tragedies. And this last one, while not a defining feature of satyr plays, is an extremely common feature, which is the presence of one Silenus. We'll talk more about him specifically, hopefully at another time, but here, all you need to know is that he is an alternative father of satyrs from a pre-Dionysian mythos. But in a post-Dionysian mythos, he is actually a devout follower of Dionysus, the oldest, wisest, and most drunken follower. In fact, he's sometimes even considered to be the god of drunkenness. And he does appear, of course, in Euripides' Cyclops. This play was written by Euripides in the 400s BC. He was a renowned playwright from Athens. The play is, as I mentioned earlier, closely based on Book 9 of the Odyssey, wherein Odysseus meets with the Cyclops Polyphemus. And it opens with Silenus lamenting the current situation. It reads, "And as we were rounding Cape Malea, an east wind blew down on the ship and cast us to land near this crag of Aetna, where Neptune's one-eyed sons, the man-slaying Cyclopes, dwell in their remote caves. One of these caught us and keeps us as slaves in his house. The master we serve is called Polyphemus, and instead of our Bacchic revels, now we herd the flocks of this godless Cyclops. And so my sons, being young, are shepherding the young sheep on the distant slopes, while my orders are to remain behind, fill the watering troughs, and sweep this house, assisting the godless Cyclops at his unholy meals. And now duty is duty. I must sweep the house with this iron rake so that I may receive my absent master, the Cyclops, and his sheep in a clean cave. And that's how the play opens. Set the scene. They're all trapped and held captive by Polyphemus. And as he describes this, the chorus of satyrs arrive back with the flock of sheep, and Silenus points out a Greek ship on the beach. He sees Odysseus and his men as they walk up to the cave and enter the stage, and he asks Odysseus and his men what they're doing there. And Odysseus begins to reveal they are looking for food. Jack, would you like to be Odysseus if I am Silenus?
I would love to be Odysseus, Connor.
Odysseus enters the stage.
What is this country, and who are its inhabitants?
This is Mount Etna, highest in Sicily.
But where are the walls and city battlements?
There are none. No men dwell in these headlands, stranger.
Who then are the land's inhabitants? Wild beasts?
Cyclopes, who live in caves, not houses.
Who is their ruler? Or do the people govern?
They are solitaires. No one is anyone's subject.
Do they sow Demeter's grain? Or how do they live?
On milk and cheese and the flesh of sheep.
Odysseus asks a lot of goddamn questions.
Sure does.
And they don't stop anytime soon.
Sure don't.
Do they possess Dionysus' drink that flows from the vine?
Not at all. Hence the land they dwell in knows no dancing.
Are they hospitable and God-fearing towards strangers?
Most delicious, they maintain, is the flesh of strangers.
What? Do they feast on men?
Everyone who's come here has been slaughtered.
The Cyclops himself, where is he? In his house?
He has gone off hunting wild beasts on Mount Etna with his dogs.
Do you know what you must do so that we can leave this land?
No, Odysseus, but I will do everything that I can for you.
Oh, finally a statement. Sell us some bread, the thing we lack.
As I told you, we have nothing but meat.
That too is a pleasant way to put an end to hunger.
And there is curdled cheese and also cow's milk.
Bring them out. Daylight befits merchandise.
But you, tell me, how much gold will you give in exchange?
It is not gold I carry, but rather Dionysus' drink.
What happy words you speak, the very thing we have lacked so long.
What is more, Marin, the god's own son, gave me the drink.
The lad I once raised in these very arms.
Dionysus' son, to make my meaning clear.
Is it on board ship, or do you carry it with you?
This is the wineskin that holds it, as you can see, old sir.
Pah! This would not even be a mouthful for me.
You would not be able to drink this wineskin dry.
What? Does the skin produce new wine of itself?
Yes, twice as much drink as flows from the wineskin.
What a lovely spring you speak of, and one that gives me pleasure.
Would you like me to give you a taste of it neat first?
That's fair enough. A taste invites purchase.
Odysseus produces a drinking vessel. See, I've brought a cup with me.
Splash some in so that I can remember what it's like to drink.
Done.
Oh my! Oh my! What a fine bouquet it has!
What? Have you caught the fragrance?
No, by Zeus, I smell it.
Taste it, then, so that your praise of it may not be mere words.
Ooh la la! Bacchus invites me to dance. Tra-la-la-la, tra-la-la.
Bro, you were made to be Silenus. Didn't it gurgle nicely down your throat?
Yes, all the way down to my toenails.
It's me after the second date, bro. That's
No!
that's awful. That's awful. That's horrible, sorry. And what is more, we will give you some money as well.
Just keep pouring the wine, never mind the gold.
Then bring out cheese or lamb.
I will do just that and pay little heed to my master. I would like to drink down a single cup of this wine, giving all the Cyclopes flocks in exchange for it, and then to leap from the Lucidian cliff into the brine, good and drunk with my eyebrows cast down. The man who does not enjoy drinking is mad. In drink one can raise this to a stand, catch a handful of breast, and look forward to stroking her bosage. There's dancing and forgetfulness of cares. Shall I not kiss such a drink and tell the bonehead Cyclops and the eye in the middle of his head to go hang? And Silenus exits into the cave. Thank you, Jack.
Bravo! Woo!
So yes, Odysseus does have an infinite wineskin in this version. This is obviously not a traditional part of the Odyssey. It's believed that Euripides wrote this in to lean into both the celebration of Dionysus as well as the comedic tendencies. As Silenus heads into the cave to grab food for trade, the leader of the chorus, the group of satyrs that Silenus calls his sons, would ask Odysseus, "Did you capture Troy and take Helen prisoner?"
Yes, and we sacked the whole house of the sons of Priam.
"Once you had caught the girl, didn't you all then take turns banging her, since she takes pleasure in having more than one mate, the traitoress? She saw the party-colored breeches on the man's legs and the gold necklace around his neck, and went all a-flutter after them, leaving behind that fine little man Menelaus. Oh, would that the female sex were nowhere to be found but in my lap."
Whoa, Silenus. Frankly, I don't like joking about women, man.
Oh, good news is that's not Silenus. That's just one of the other satyrs.
Oh, hey,
The
random
reason
satyr. Cool it with the misogynistic remarks.
the reason I include this is specifically to show off the misogyny and, generally speaking, the added vulgarity, what is believed to be the comedy of the situation. At this
Yeah, this
point,
is like
Silenus.
frat bro humor.
Yes,
I'm fascinated by this.
that's why I thought this was so interesting to include here, because it's such a different rendition on what we'll get to when we talk about Polyphemus in the Odyssey itself many chapters from now. And at this point, Polyphemus begins to return. Silenus re-enters the scenes and warns Odysseus. But Odysseus is like, all right then, should I run? And Silenus says, no, no, no. If you run, he'll see you. You must hide here by the cave. And of course, this is a satyr play. So the satyrs and Silenus are absolutely by no means allowed to be helpful. They only
Mm.
cause problems. So
Mhm.
Polyphemus walks up to the cave and immediately spots Odysseus and his men.
He's hiding behind like a rock. Hey, what is this crowd I see near my cave? Have some pirates or robbers landed here? I do see lambs here from my cave, their bodies bound with twisted willow withes, and my cheese buckets all in disarray, and an old man with his bald head swollen with blows.
Oh, wretched me! What a fever I have gotten from being beaten up!
By whom? Who has been pummeling your head, old man?
These men, because I would not let them take your property.
Did they not know that I am a god and descended from gods?
I told them so, but they went on plundering your possessions, and what is more, they started in on the cheese, though I tried to stop them, and began to carry off the sheep. And they said they would collar you like a dangerous dog, right before your very eye, pull out your guts by force, flay your back nicely with a whip, then bind you hand and foot and throw you onto the rowing benches of their ship and sell you to someone to pry up rocks, or throw you into a mill.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, in case it isn't clear, what happens here is that Polyphemus has mistaken Silenus's flush face and drunkenness as some sort of head injury, assumes he was attacked. Silenus takes advantage of the situation and immediately throws Odysseus and his men under the bus, which leads to Odysseus, as well as the leader of the chorus, the satyr from earlier making the really crude jokes about Helen, to both be like, oh, hold on, he's lying. And Polyphemus responds to them with this line.
You lie. For my part, I put more trust in this man than Rhadamanthus, and think him more honest.
Reminder, this is meant to be a comedy. He is pointing at Silenus as he says this. It is meant to be pure insanity.
Uh-huh.
Because all we've seen this person do is lie and turn tail. So Odysseus further tries to reason with the Cyclops, and after a paragraph of monologuing, Silenus just juts in with this. He turns to the Cyclops and he says, I want to give you some advice. Don't leave untouched a single bit of this man's flesh, and if you chew on his tongue, you will become clever and glib, Cyclops.
I thought we were chill, Silenus. What the fuck?
Yeah! So the Cyclops then takes all of Odysseus's men as well as the satyrs into the cave, and he begins to cook and eat Odysseus's men. It is important to note that throughout all of this, Silenus has still been clutching onto the infinite wineskin and leaves with Polyphemus while the others are still trapped in the cave. The chorus of satyrs, also trapped and not wanting to be there, ask Odysseus if he has a plan. And he's Odysseus, so of course he has a plan.
Mm-hmm.
He explains, much like in the original version, that his plan is to get the Cyclops drunk and poke out his eye. The screen or the curtains would draw, and we would open to a new scene now in evening as Odysseus hides in wait to execute his plan, and the Cyclops and Silenus now enter back into the cave.
Callooh Calais! How close I was to drowning in it. This is pleasure unalloyed. I think I see the heaven and the earth swimming around together. I see Zeus's throne and the whole revered company of the gods. Shall I not kiss them? The Graces are trying to seduce me. No more! With this Ganymede here, I shall go off to bed with greater glory than with the Graces. And somehow I take more pleasure in boys than in women.
He puts his arm around Silenus.
What? Am I Zeus's boy, Ganymede, Cyclops?
Yes, by Zeus, whom I am abducting from Dardanus' house.
Oh, I am done for, my sons! A terrible fate is in store for me!
Do you not like your lover and turn up your nose at one who's drunk?
Oh me, my glimpse of wine will soon prove all too bitter. And with that, the Cyclops and the reluctant Silenus exit into the cave.
He's gonna fuck Silenus?
He sure is!
That's crazy! I'm not gonna lie. I didn't look at this ahead of time, so I've just kind of been reading on the fly. That threw me off!
Yep.
You Greeks are crazy.
The Cyclops says, this old goat man, I'm gonna make him my boy toy.
It's crazy.
Oh, it gets better, Jack. That's the last line Silenus has in the entire play. I read the whole thing.
Oh, no!
And from here,
no.
the story goes just as it always does. Odysseus deceives and blinds Polyphemus. His remaining men escape, though this time, they take the satyrs with them. They join his crew, probably to have the very same horrible fates befall all of them. But the last detail I would put out, just to point out that this is a comedy, and I think the reason that Euripides might have chosen this for his satyr play is because it did already have some comedy in the original version.
Mm-hmm.
We all remember no one and Polyphemus. The Cyclops would say, "No one has blinded my eye," after he's injured. And the same satyr from earlier who makes the comments about Helen says, "So you are not blind."
But
Exactly. And I hope you all enjoyed that I got Jack to basically perform the better part of an ancient Greek satyr play with me.
Hey, man, I don't give a fuck if anybody else enjoyed that. That was great.
I had a blast. I figured you would enjoy that too. So that is what I had on satyr plays, and specifically Cyclops by Euripides. Which brings us to our next myth, this time from chapter 2, Laistrygonians. Now, Laistrygonians primarily feature in a single book of the Odyssey, Book 10. At this point in the book, Odysseus's fleet has just been blown far off course after his men released the winds that were given to Odysseus in a bag by Aeolus, the god of the winds or the lord of the winds, depending on your translation. And the Laistrygonians are an interesting enemy because they're based in real world fears of other people. And we'll get there. But because their whole section of the Odyssey is very short, I am going to grace you all with another reading, this time from Book 10 of the Odyssey. Odysseus tells, "Here, then, we found a curious bay with mountain walls of
Oh, I
stone.
didn't get a call back?
Oh, would you like a callback?
I didn't get a call back? You're telling me I failed? I
Would
got
you
to be
like a...
Odysseus once and you recasted me? Are you kidding me?
Do you want to do more reading? I'll happily give you more
Yes.
reading. All right, I
Yeah,
got you.
absolutely.
I've been working with quote blocks for book 2, so there's your
Oh god, is that
reading.
oh, oh lord.
There's a reason
Okay.
I was gonna do it. I
No,
practiced all
no,
the hard words.
I no, no, no. I'm gonna do this. I have not I do see there's some kooky words there, Connor. And I am gonna get them totally exactly right first try.
All right, let's hear it.
The spotlight. Here, then, we found a curious bay with mountain walls of stone to left and right, and reaching far inland, a narrow entrance opening from the sea where cliffs converged as though to touch and close. All of my squadron sheltered here, inside the cavum of this bay. Black prow by prow, those hulls were made fast in a limpid calm without a ripple, stillness all around them. My own black ship I chose to moor alone on the seaside, using a rock for bollard, and climbed a rocky point to get my bearings. No farms, no cultivated land appeared, but puffs of smoke rose in the wilderness. So I sent out 2 picked men and a herald to learn what race of men this land sustained. My party found a track, a wagon road for bringing wood down from the heights to town, and near the settlement they met a daughter of Antiphates, the Laistrygone, a stalwart young girl, her taking her pail to Artakia, the fountain where these people go for water. My fellows hailed her, put their questions to her. Who might the king be? Ruling over whom? She waved her hand, showing her father's lodge, so they approached it. In its gloom, they saw a woman like a mountain crag, the queen, and loathed the sight of her. But she, for greeting, called from the meeting ground her lord and master, Antiphates, who came to drink their blood. I'm saying that quite nonchalantly. He came to drink their blood. He seized one man and tore him on. Sorry, this it got really real out of nowhere.
It sure did.
He seized one man and tore him on the spot, making a meal of him. The other 2 leapt out of doors and ran to join the ships. Behind, he raised the whole tribe howling. Countless Laistrygonies and more than men they seemed, gigantic when they gathered on the skyline to shoot great boulders down from slings. And Hell's own crashing rose, and crying from the ships as planks and men were smashed to bits. Poor gobbets the wild men speared like fish and bore away. But long before it ended in the anchorage havoc and slaughter, I had drawn my sword and cut my own ship's cable. Men! I shouted. Man the oars and pull till your hearts break if you would put this butchery behind. The oarsmen rent the sea in mortal fear, and my ship spurted out of range, far out from that deep canyon where the rest were lost.
So we fared onward, and death fell behind, and we took breath to grieve for our companions.
And scene. Did I do the words, kind of?
You nailed them. Literally all of
Oh,
them. That was great. Thank you, everyone. Applause for Jack. Make sure that you tell him in the comments how much you enjoyed his Odysseus. It was phenomenal.
Thank you, thank you. I've been looking for a role like this all my life, Connor, and I'm glad that I could fulfill it here during the myth notes of Book 2, Chapter 1 from Percy Jackson and the Olympians.
Yes. I will inform you that there will probably be further callbacks to this Odysseus character, so get ready for the sequel series. But
Hell
we
yeah.
are done for today. So, to summarize Jack's beautiful rendition and monologue for us, Odysseus had docked his fleet of 12 ships by some cliffs. While it's not specified in this translation, generally speaking, any translations that do include a number list that number as 12 ships. Odysseus docked his ship in a hidden cove near the shore, hence why only he was able to escape. The other 11 ships are sunk by the Laistrygonians, throwing boulders down and sinking them. And in case it wasn't clear, they eat people.
Yeah, that came out of fucking nowhere. Even I knew that that would happen, and it's still like, whoa, Odysseus, you kind of just dropped that. Kind of dropped that out of
Yep.
nowhere, man.
They went up, they asked what was happening, he ripped one of them in half. You know, casual Thursday for the Odyssey.
I do like how it seems like Rick intentionally referenced them throwing boulders by them throwing the
The
dodgeballs in the
dodgeballs.
chapter. That's really
Mhm.
fun.
You'll notice, though, they were boulders on a cliffside, not magically summoned boulders from fucking nowhere.
Yeah, Rick had to add his own little flair to it.
That's alright, I'm not really complaining, I thought it was fun. So, that is the most notable place where the Laistrygonians were ever referenced. This is the only, like I mentioned earlier, the only mythological source for them. But I do have a few other sources from other individuals that talk further about the history of the Laistrygonians, which is an odd thing, because you would think that these man-eating giants were something purely of mythology. Hesiod, in his catalogs of women from around the 8th or 7th century BC, so not long after the Odyssey was written down in the early 8th century BC, he wrote, "The people sprung from Laistrygon, who was the son of wide-reigning Poseidon and Gaia," meaning that he believes that all of the Laistrygonians are the descendants of a child of Poseidon and Gaia. This is the only person who attests to their heritage in this way, but I thought it was interesting as it does kind of tie into the Odyssey's idea of Poseidon specifically punishing Odysseus. But of course, their heritage doesn't explain the cannibalism. So let's next talk about their location and how that might, heavy emphasis on might, explain the cannibalism. Many years later, in the 1st century AD, Pliny the Elder wrote a little bit more about the Laistrygonians in his work, Natural History. He is describing the region near Semethis in Sicily, and he writes that inland are the Laistrygoni plains. And a few chapters later, he writes some Scythian tribes, and in fact a good many, feed on human bodies. A statement that perhaps may seem incredible if we do not reflect that races of this portentous character have existed in the central region of the world named Cyclopes and Laistrygones. Which is interesting, because by the 1st century AD, Pliny the Elder, writing about the people nearly 1,000 years before him, is saying, of course Cyclops and Laistrygonians aren't real. They're just some Scythian tribes that are cannibals. We just didn't understand them yet. Which led me to pursue a different line of thinking. Why were these Scythian tribes accused of being violent man-eating cannibals? Well, that brings us to a different source. A man named Herodotus from the 5th century BC, who was a historian from Athens, a notably unreliable and frustrating historian to many modern historians because he constantly mixed in stories and folktales and presented them as fact. Unfortunately, even if we had somewhat accurate information, it wouldn't be one-to-one transferable because the Scythian peoples that Herodotus was writing about had already migrated westward from Central Asia into the Caucasian steppe, beginning around the 9th century BC and continuing through much of the 8th century BC. To further discredit Herodotus's account, it's worth mentioning that the Scythians were the stereotype for non-Greek, heavy air quotes, barbarians. So where's the cannibalism? Well, that's complicated. You see, when Herodotus wrote about the Scythians, he noted that there was one tribe in particular that Herodotus and the Greeks labeled as the Androphagi, or man-eaters in Greek, literally. This is, of course, not what this tribe would have called themselves. It is purely a name given by the Greeks, meant to be descriptive of what they thought was most notable about the people. Herodotus claimed that this Scythian tribe, referred to as the Androphagi, were the only people practicing cannibalism of those living near Scythia. Okay, so there's our cannibalism accusation. And that's about it as far as primary sources from literature, which doesn't get us very far because all it gets us is that through racist ideology, the Greeks believed that the Androphagi ate people.
That sounds about right. I could have guessed.
Yep. The interesting thing is I think that I have gotten to the core of why, looking through a few academic papers written on the subject, the historical community has actually come to a solid consensus on what is the most likely reasoning for the Laistrygonians being cannibals. The Greeks of the time framed these far-off people as barbarians, others. And it was easy then to associate them with what are traditionally taboo activities like eating people. And so specifically, they described and depicted them as people who hunted humans for food or ate people as like a primary food source. This is not true. We know this for a variety of reasons, but the easiest of which is to look at archaeological records and find that none of them support this claim. However, we can actually get close in a certain way. There are some archaeological finds that I must make this explicitly clear could be interpreted as suggesting some form of ritual cannibalism. Not implying, it is not direct fact, it is an interpretation. So the first point that could be interpreted this way is that archaeological finds have found intact human skeletal remains among broken animal bones in what are believed to have been kitchen discards at various sites. This does not necessarily provide evidence of cannibalism. It does suggest the possibility. We also have later records of cultures that were descended from the ancient Scythians that did go on to practice ritual cannibalism. If the cultures are linked in this aspect, then we can posit as to what the practice of the ancient Scythians would have actually looked like. In these later cultures, it was part of funerary rites, thus meaning they would only consume small portions of the individual after their death to honor them. They would take small portions of the meat and stew it down in a large pot to create a funerary stew. And that would have been the only realistic and supported by any evidence cannibalism that might have been practiced by the people that the Greeks labeled as man-eaters. So it's all to say the Laistrygonians are a racist stereotype.
Connor, if you said Jack, could you guess? That is exactly what I would have guessed.
I figured.
They're a bunch of savage idiots that eat people. Oh, wow. I wonder what that's supposed to be.
And so, unsurprisingly, that is the case, and that is all of the myths that I had for us today.
Damn. Those were fun. Those were interactive for me, which I
I'm
appreciate.
glad. I had fun with that one. I can't wait to get more Odysseus renditions throughout this book because, as I mentioned, this is the Odyssey book.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else to add. Yeah.
All right, then.
Which is fun. That, like, I'm so glad that you are putting this book through that lens, and it makes total sense. But I have not brushed up on the Odyssey since, like, middle school, so it'll be fun. I'll be revisiting this book and in tandem revisiting the Odyssey.
Hell yeah, I can't wait for you to get a proper crash course on it because the only thing we're
Yeah,
not going to cover from the Odyssey this book is the Lotus Eaters, which we covered last book.
but you already did.
So we should have like a complete review of the Odyssey as well, to some extent, when we're done with this book. But
Awesome.
if we want to get to more myths from the Odyssey, checks notes, you're not going to get them next chapter.
Damn
Because
it.
next chapter, we're talking about 3 old ladies in an eyeball. We'll see you there.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to support our content, please be sure to leave a review, share with your friend, and follow us on all your favorite podcast platforms. Until next time, this has been Notes from the Oracle. Did you have fun with that one? I had fun with that one.
That was great, man. That was great.
Oh man, I'm so excited to be diving into this book and like getting going on it.
Yeah, dude. I genuinely, I know I said it, so it's not going to be any new info, but I am surprised at how much I enjoyed the first 2 chapters. Again, chapter 1 felt more like a prologue. It is what it is, but I'm raring to go. It really throws you right into it. And again, it reminds you of a couple of things. It lays groundwork on stuff that you might need a reminder, or if somebody's going into this totally blind, it might help with setting some basic rules, but it really doesn't hamstring itself trying to reacquaint the reader with the world. It's
I
already expanding on things, which I appreciate.
I read just these first 2 chapters before I went back and read the entire book, and genuinely, I was like, "Okay, these do have me hooked properly." Like, there's a
Yeah.
reason I was like, I'll just go pick the myths for the entire book now," because it was really fun. Chapter 1, as we've said, it's not a nothing burger, it just goes quick, and so before I even realized it, I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm 5 pages into chapter 2, and I was only trying to read chapter 1."
Mhm.
It's really fun.
I am curious, because I do wanna keep my opinion as natural and untainted as possible, but I am
Mhm.
curious, from your read through of it, were you pleasantly surprised at how much you enjoyed this book?
Not really, to be honest
Okay.
with you. It was okay. It came across without trying to, impose my opinion on yours.
Mhm.
It came across as a genuinely really fun novel without as many of the hard-hitting moments as the previous, and it
Mm.
feels shorter, snappier, and quicker.
Mhm.
Really, I don't think it's bad. And what I realized as I was reading it is I think a lot of people rank it low because it's more forgettable because of how quick it moves, not that it is
Mm.
not enjoyable. I did have a
Right.
very good time with it. It just
Mhm.
goes by in a snap.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's weird being back at the point with a whole new book where I'm everything is so new that it's like, "Oh, man, I can't wait to just dig into more and to dig into more, and there's so much ahead." Whereas, on the latter half of book 1, you get to a point where it's almost like, "Oh, I almost kinda wanna stop because the book's gonna end."
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited for more, but shit, the ride's ending. I can see it. I see the finish.
Yeah, well, especially when we cross that point where it's like, "Oh, we've already talked about that myth, and we've already talked about that myth," and it's like, "Wait a
Mhm.
minute, that's kinda concerning."
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
very fun to get into this one and be like, "Alright, we have a brand new, ready to go set of myths and all sorts of other fun shit to go through." I genuinely I'm just really excited to dive in and tackle another book because I'm also, like, I'm taking this opportunity, obviously, with things like having you do a little bit of the reading, even just for a character.
Yeah.
I'm
I
trying to
love, by
update
the
the
way,
format. Yeah, I
never,
thought you would
never
enjoy
doubt
that.
that I don't want to do that.
From
Like,
here on out, Jack, I'll just make you do it.
or I guess never doubt that I do wanna do that. Whatever. Double negatives confuse me. I want to read shit. I wanna read shit and I wanna do voices.
Well, hell yeah. Your Odysseus voice is gonna get more practice then.
Hell yes. Let's fucking go. I'm in